Do you think that your spouse is cheating on you? Hey YouTube, in this video I'm going to share with you 9 signs that this might be happening to you and what you can do about it. Now for those of you who don't already know me, I am Brad Browning and I'm YouTube's #1 marriage expert, and this is probably one of the most difficult topics that I'll ever talk about. Infidelity is one of the biggest marriage destroyers and it can rip families apart. And sometimes even the strongest of marriages can't help but end in divorce in the wake of an affair. But before we dive into these signs, I have to talk about a couple of important facts. And these facts might be a little unsettling to you no matter what situation you're in. Now, fact number 1 is that your partner could be showing almost all of these signs and still not be cheating on you. Now, you're going to have to take this video with a grain of salt because you really can be never can be 100% sure until your partner admits it to you, or if you catch him or her red-handed. However, the signs that I'm about to talk about are definitely some of the most important indicators that something is wrong in your marriage. So even if they aren't cheating on you, these signs may be an indicator that your spouse is unhappy about the marriage and that something could be done to fix that. Now, the second fact is, your partner could be displaying almost none of these and still be having an affair on you. In fact, it's estimated that the vast majority of affairs in marriages go undetected. I know, if you're in a happy marriage, this might be a hard fact to swallow, but facts are facts. And unfortunately, some people can be such amazing liars that their partners never find out. Now, we also have to keep in mind that affairs can happen in good marriages too. Just because an affair takes place doesn't mean the person committing the act is evil or an awful person. It is possible to salvage a marriage even after something as daunting as an affair. Just remember that no matter how difficult things may be for you in your marriage, you must maintain a strong, confident, and positive outlook if you're going to have any chance to save your marriage. And this isn't meant to be alarming, but studies do show that 15 to 20% of marriages report cheating to have happened at some point in their marriage, whether it's physical or emotional. And of those that experienced cheating, about half of those marriages ended up in divorce or separation. So even if you are a victim of an affair, just know that you have a choice in what to do in the matter. And that, for many couples, it is possible to save your marriage after an affair. But that's going to be a topic for another video. So without further ado, here is my list of the top 9 signs that your spouse may be having an affair. Number 1 is your spouse gets aggravated easily. So if your spouse is constantly picking fights with you about seemingly mundane things, it might be a sign that something's brewing deep down inside. So if your spouse is making you feel like you can't do anything right, or you just seem like you can't do anything to make your partner calmer or more forgiving, it could be a sign that their mind has been wandering. And if this is happening to you, it's important to not snap back at your spouse. For now, just keep a cool head and find the right time to calmly ask your spouse why they're acting this way. Now, guilt plays a huge role here too, obviously. When you know you've done something wrong, it's easier to get on your bad side and to take it out on somebody else. So if your spouse is short with you, then it's a somewhat subtle indicator that something is amiss here and that you need to address it. And if this is happening to you, don't egg your partner on. Give him or her the space they need to kind of cool off. They might be aggravated for a variety of reasons, so it's best to let your partner's emotions settle before pursuing anything further. But if they are constantly annoyed and angry at you, especially for smaller things, then this is often an indicator that something is amiss. Sign number 2, your spouse is suddenly a stickler for privacy. Now, this should be a pretty obvious one, but it's worth noting. If your spouse is suddenly scared about you prying into their life, that's a huge red flag. It's important that both partners do retain some level of privacy in a marriage. But however, if you feel like your partner or your spouse is taking that too far, then you can be sure that they're hiding something. So here's my favorite test. The next time you and your partner are together, pick up their phone and say you need to Google something. If they start freaking out, then you know that something's up. Same goes for their computer. Any sort of suspicious behavior involving their electronic devices might be a big clue. But there are some other clues to look for as well. How do they feel when they're on their computer and you're around? You could try the same sort of experiment with their laptop. Just say, hey, I want to check if those concert tickets are released yet. Can I use your computer quickly to check on them? And if they're closing windows, logging off, deleting their web history, or forcing you to use a different browser, and they don't leave the room, then you can be sure that they're probably trying to hide something from you at the very least. Or what about that coffee date they had with their friend? Just try asking about what that coffee date was all about, or some details about your spouse's friend's dating life. Just try and weave those kind of questions into normal everyday conversation, and then observe your spouse's reaction. If they're being really evasive about it, then you'll know that something's up. And on to number 3, your spouse is becoming emotionally distant from you. So if your spouse is acting a little quieter, more withdrawn, or even depressed and sad, it could be a sign that there's something going on that he or she isn't telling you. Now again, like I said at the beginning of the video, this might be a sign of something that has nothing to do with your affair, but rest assured that if your spouse is acting this strange, there's probably something going on. Now, tread carefully when you're dealing with an emotionally distant spouse. If something is really bugging him or her, you could really tip them off with the wrong words. So instead of prying, just approach your spouse from a position of support. Say something like, I know something is wrong and I really want to help. If you don't want to talk about it right now, then I understand. Just start from there and see where it goes. And remember, like I said with tip number 1, there could be a myriad of reasons why your spouse is acting the way they are. So keep that in mind before jumping to conclusions that might make the situation even worse. And on to number 4, your spouse is working longer hours. So if your spouse is working beyond their typical work hours, this could be a sign that there's some infidelity that might be happening. Now, if he or she is, coming home late, taking some strange work trips, this can definitely be a big indicator of infidelity. Now, of course, maybe they're just working on a huge project, or maybe finances are an issue at home, but the way to approach this is simple. Simply ask your spouse why they were late and look at their reaction. Do you feel like something's fishy? Are they making eye contact? Are they brushing it off like it's nothing? If they're acting, suspicious or evasive, this could be a sign that they're pursuing something beyond your marriage. And sign number 5, your spouse wants more space. So if your spouse is, uncharacteristically asking for more space or room to breathe, then you can be pretty confident that something's up, especially if things haven't been this way before. So, if your spouse is asking for more space, then you do want to give it to him or her and continue monitoring how they're acting. Sooner or later, you'll be able to bring up this issue to your spouse and attempt to sort of drill down and get to the bottom of their peculiar behavior. Now, if you feel like your marriage is strained, or if you feel like, your spouse is slowly pulling away from you, then head to marriageguy.com right after this video is over and watch my free video presentation there on my website. Because in that video, I go over the 3 ingredients that every successful marriage needs to have. And again, you can watch that for free at marriageguy.com. But now let's move on to number 6. And this one is a little bit strange, but if your spouse is suddenly paying close attention to their appearance, then it could be a sign that he or she is trying to impress somebody else. So for example, if they're buying new clothes, suddenly going to the gym, making sure their hair is spot on before they go out, it could be a sign that they're seeing someone that they want to impress. Now this is especially suspicious if the desire to look good comes along really suddenly. Now if this is the case, then subtly point it out and just sort of gauge their reaction. Are they defensive about it? Are they acting suspicious when you bring it up? If they are, then it's clear that they are, at least at minimum, hiding something from you. So at least be on the lookout. And sign number 7, your spouse suddenly picks up new hobbies or passions that require a lot of their time. So, did your spouse really pick up that passion for hunting that allows him to be, away from home for weeks at a time? Now, of course, it doesn't have to be that obvious, but if your spouse has suddenly started to dedicate a ton of their time into, a brand new hobby, and is subsequently not home a lot as a result, then this could definitely be an indicator that they want to spend some time with somebody else. Now, if you're in this situation, an easy way to resolve this issue is to simply ask to come with them, and then again, just monitor their reaction. If they're happy about inviting you along, then maybe they really are just into hunting. If they're not overly happy, or they find excuses for you not to come, then maybe something else is going on. Sign number 8, they act defensive when you casually bring up cheating. So try to weave in the topic of cheating or infidelity into your conversation with your spouse. You could say something about the TV show you're watching, the book you're reading, or just share a story from a friend. And once you bring up the topic of cheating, just take a look at how your spouse reacts. Are they shifting around uncomfortably? Do they want to change the subject or ignore it altogether? Because if this is a touchy subject for them, then there's probably a reason why they feel that way. So a great way to segue this conversation would be to simply ask, are you okay? And see how they react. You know your spouse the best, so if they begin acting in a peculiar way, then you can know probably for sure that something is amiss. And sign number 9, there are suddenly money issues. Now, it's incredibly common for married couples to undergo some level of financial stress from time to time. But, sometimes irregularities can be a clue into something far more suspicious. So for example, do you notice any charges on your credit card that don't make any sense? Or maybe your spouse, is for whatever reason planning to save some money for a getaway or a trip that doesn't really make sense. Now, of course, this is one of the weakest signs that your spouse is having an affair, but if their spending habits coincide with some of the other signs that I've talked about already, it could be a signal that they're doing something that they really shouldn't be doing or don't want you to know about. Now, of course, these 9 signs aren't an exhaustive list of signs that your spouse may be cheating on you. If you feel like they might be cheating, then I encourage you to sign up for my personal coaching program at marriageguy.com/coaching. And that way together we can discover what your spouse is really up to, and I can go over with you some tried, tested, and true methods to make sure that you revitalize your relationship and save your marriage. Again, you can learn more about my coaching at marriageguy.com/coaching. All right, folks, that just about does it for this video. If you think I missed any of the subtle signs your spouse is having an affair, I would love to hear about them, so drop them in the comments below. And as always, thanks for liking and subscribing. I will talk to you guys in the next video.